What's up, everyone? We're here in Investa and we're going to analyze different charts. Let's take a look at the global market. So, first chart below here, the SPX S&P 500. So, we encountered the first big red candle, I think for the year. So, I think we need to be wary of this kind of movement because these are the types of movement where you think everything is peaceful, breaking out slowly. A lot of people are optimistic, but then we encounter volatility downside. So if you look at the S&P, two levels of support here around the 5.9 level, and there's a mini gap around this area, but then a more significant support would be the base at 5.7 to 5.8, so around this box. But that's just the initial support. So if like the global markets continue to become weak, we can see more downside, but then let's just take it a step at a time. But then this is for the US market. It's not all bad news, because if we look at what's happening in emerging markets, so we got this chart, the bottom right, EEM. So with the EEM, this is the ETF representation of emerging markets. You can see here that it's making a higher low and it's trying to slowly make a trend or a base, upward base, right? So what we want to see here is for it to break above 45 plus and continue to make a new high from there on. So EEM, this represents the emerging markets and including Philippines and other countries. So at least we get a representation that even if the USA is on the top side, it has been strong for a lot of the past years or past months. The emerging markets is opposite. It has been on a downtrend, but now it's making a base and creating slow higher lows, and hopefully it breaks above 45 and then 50. Okay, so there's some hope here. And then the chart here, the upper right, you got the index of China. You can see that it's making a big base right here, right? It's holding up well. Then there's this narrative that if you've been watching the recent news about AI, so there's this narrative that China is catching up or leading as well in their own right in terms of the technological developments, whether that be AI, robotics, and other aspects of technology. So with that, if you look at Asia or China as well, there's a lot of stocks that have been very underlooked or undervalued. So I think it's about time where the money flow shifts from US being the star, Trump coming in, and then people realizing that all these trade laws or the tariffs that they've been setting is detrimental. Like they're trying to flex, but then all the other countries will retaliate, and in the end, I think all the other countries would help one another and there would be less reliance on US. So that's the risk on the US markets. And since Asia or other emerging markets have been undervalued for a long time, then money flow might shift from there. So China, we see strong support holding on 3.2, and then it's just a matter of time before we see a break of this 3.4 to 3.5 level and make more highs or a potential trend. So that's what we see in China. Then I think not I haven't looked at it specifically, but from what I've seen, the research reports and then other stocks, there's a lot of undervalued names here. So there's value in names in China or Asia stocks. So now Philippines. So last video we mentioned that if it's unable to hold 6K, then we might see a test at the 5.7 to 5.5 level. But then the index is still holding up well, right? Then it's trying to create a higher low area at this point. So as long as we hold this current pattern, this mini structure here, so for those looking to be bullish on the PSE, So if we hold 6K, or even if we have dips again at 5.9 to 5.8, but then recover back to 6K after 1 to 2 weeks, then potentially on the upside, we can see that the index might try 6.4 to 6.6 range around this area. Wait, I'm gonna change my pen. Yeah, so around that area. So that's assuming that we hold this current structure here. But either way, so the other scenario is if we don't hold this yet, so example, there's a lot of turmoil in the government or other issues in the economy, like trillions of debt we're accumulating. So if the negative perception continues, an example, we get another sell down here, there's probably going to be a more divergence in the PSE. So example, let's put in the RSI indicator right here. So it's just a mini chart, but I hope you can see. So if we get another dip, RSI will probably make a divergence around that area. So even if we create new lows, RSI is slowly stabilizing. So sell down is going to be exhausted at some point. And then this is also backed by valuations, because if you look at PSE now, even on the top level, in the government level, or in the economy level, it seems challenging. Some stocks, some specific companies, whether defensive or on the bank side, or even some property names, because of that fear on the oversupply, a lot of these names have become quite attractive. So if you were a long-term investor looking at that range, whether that be a 5.8 to 6K if you're on the bullish side, or whether you're looking for another sell down at the 5.5, 5.7 level, we've got this window of accumulation, I think, which is backed by value names and potential defensive stocks that we're going to look at later on. So you need to balance that. So we're reading the technical, the supply and demand aspect, but then we're also finding opportunities on specific stocks that show good value or good growth and good dividends. So we're going to take a look at those names now. All right, so let's resume. So we're here in our market signals page in Investa, the prime tools, and we can see the market health of the PSE, and we can see the breakout points here, real-time breakouts, so LC breaking out, APX, so a lot of miners breaking out today, and then KPH, I think there's a new news here, so you can see the breakouts happening here. Then here, the bottom, you can see the leading stocks using our formula. Then let's look at them one by one. So Felix, so PX, so it did make a resistance at the 5 level. Okay, so there's, I think, news or developments here that their new mine might open up in a couple of years, but from here we might see it consolidate. So if you want to track where this can go, it's 478. So depending on your read, you can wait around the 430 to 450 level, but then you could also get a shorter moving average, let's say 10-day or 9-day. Yeah, here. So in the 9-day moving average, it's around 448, so around 450 level. So that would be the initial support, assuming we want to look at the dip for this stock. Then let's see if it can stabilize around that area, 450, 430. All right, so for gold fans, this is the primary play. Plus, so this has been the best or the strongest stock from last year, and it still continues. Right, so it's making tight pause range at the 37 area, but then it's really hard to chase. If you have a position here, then all you have to do is just probably trail this at this EMA 9 level or EMA 10, or if you want more allowance, then just put the trailing stop at EMA 20. But then since this is accelerating at a fast pace, you can use a shorter moving average, the EMA 9. So you can see here it's still holding above 35 to 36. So if ever there's short-term dips, we can see the behavior if it would be able to still hold at that level. So that's going to trail day to day. So let's just observe. And then we can look at the valuations. It's still at 15x here in the Investa chart. Alright, so let's take a look at the third stock, JGS. So this is a new name coming up in the leader rankings. This has been, if you're looking at Philippines and social media, you're gonna see that a lot of people have been talking about JGS being sold down a lot. I think it has been removed or down weighted in the MSCI. But usually what happens in the index rebalancing, if there's a solid fundamental name being taken out of the MSCI or whatever index, usually it marks a bottom. So you can see here, because funds are forced to sell and adjust to that index adjustment, so there's a short-term down move on the stock, but then it usually becomes an opportunity. And on the medium term, these stocks, if they're fundamentally intact, that can create the short-term bottom and make the new trend from there on. So right now we're still in a downward trend. So depending on how strict you are, right now it's testing the resistance area of the trend line, and at the same time it's testing the EMA 50, so 50-day moving average. So we're at the medium-term resistance right now. So if ever JGS still has some room to grow, it's gonna have a harder time to test the 2021 area. So if you're able to buy at the bottom, you can trim some of your gains at 2021, or this is probably gonna be a short-term resistance at this area, then we can look for more dips or stabilization from then on. Alright, so this, I think, is just following the movement of URC. URC is one of the biggest sentimental driver here in JGS. So URC chart, it's more or less the same, right? You can see short-term bottom here, but then is it really the bottom, or are we just seeing sell on rally opportunities? So it's hovering above the MA 50, but then on the more significant resistance we got the 80 to 85 range, right? So if you've been able to buy at 65 to 70, that would be significant upside already at 80 to 85. So it would have a more challenging time to surpass this range. So let's see. Alright, so PNB. So after the CBC, CBC is the leading cheap bank, right? So had a good run from 30 to 40 up to 90. So that's 2x, 3x. So now the market likes to look at patterns, and they're trying to look for the next undervalued bank. Oh, sorry, PNB. So they're trying to look at which stocks would have the same formula with CBC. So PNB is one of them. You can see that this year it's just been doing the same thing. Gonna do a quiet run up, stabilization, and then make a new high, and then stabilize a bit, and then from here we see a major breakout, right? So it's doing the same thing here, but then it's now accelerating faster. So we see another break here, then another new high here. So now there's a 30 breakout. Let's zoom out. Okay, so if we zoom out, this is the highest point it has been since 2021. Alright, so this is a significant breakout. 3 year to 4 year breakout since 2021. The 30 level. So with that, this this goes to show that, hey, there's a major turnaround on this stock. And then if we look at the narrative, we're looking for the next cheap bank, underappreciated bank. So investors are going to flock to that. So now that we're at 31.75, if we're lucky on down days or panic days, you can if you have the patience, you can wait below 31 and catch as near as 30. But then if you're seeing the big picture and then this stock fits your metrics, let's take a look at the fundamentals. So in the Investa chart, you got PE ratio 252, the trailing PE ratio. So that's pretty low, right? So this definitely has more upside. So if this is correct, 252, even if you double this price at the same earnings, even if you make it 5x PE, this would be still relatively cheap. Some banks are trading at 7 times, 8 times, or 10 times or more, right? So there's definitely more upside to this. So interesting stock, PNB. So now it's just a matter of deciding whether you want to wait for a lower dip at 30, 30, 50, or you're going to make an initial position at 31. So right now, and on the downside, on the risk side, as long as this is above 29, I think this would be solid, right? So you can put like a stop loss or a warning point 29, or if it goes 28.50, then that would signify that, hey, there might be something wrong with the stock. Okay. So CBC, yeah, we looked at that already. East West, so yeah, there. Those are 3 cheap banks. East West making a new high. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. So it's very similar with PNB 2021, except that PNB has a stronger structure in terms of its pattern or in its chart. So you're gonna see here that, okay, East West, yeah, so East West hasn't yet reached its 2021 resistance at 1150, but it's more or less the same, no? So it's just a matter of which stocks do you prefer, which among the two, East West or PNB, do you prefer. But it has a very clean structure here. So you see a good base and then a break from the base with high volume. So it's a pretty textbook structure. So now it's just a matter of, okay, 1068. So it's just a matter of breaking and sustaining this area. So the top of the red candle here is 1074. So around 1074 to 11, we got that next test. So it's just a matter of whether we get a high volume break here and then take out 1150 to 12 as the next area. But again, these are cheap banks. So same thematic as CBC. There's definitely more opportunity there. So SEB, let's take a look at SEB. Oh wait, hang on. Before we go to SEB, okay, so it's the same. You got 5% dividends and then PE ratio of 3.42. Interesting. I'm looking at it on the right side here. Or you can just search here the Investagrams. You can search the stock for the fundamental data. Okay, so now let's look at SEB. Alright, SEB. Nice. Let's take a look at oil. Oh, sorry. WTI. Oil is still at its lows. Huge red candle here. Okay, so oil seems like it's still gonna go on a downtrend, or at least sideways to downtrend. Yeah, I think this would be a game changer for the inflation narrative. So even though there's fears of inflation, if oil suddenly breaks below 65, if it breaks 65 here, that would be good for a consumer country like us. That would be good for SEB. So this is something to take note of. And also, you're seeing these big red sell downs. on oil. So it looks like it was about to try the resistance levels or go above these moving averages or make a breakout, but then it got faded. So that's bearish sign for me. And later on we might see this below 65. So watch that. Watch for that. That would be good for Cebu Pac. Then that would be good for Philippines in general, in a lot of countries. So Cebu Pac, you see a good breakout out of the 30 level. It's 30.50. So basically, yeah, we just broke out of the 30 mark. And then it's a good base coming from December. That's 2 months, high volume. So not bad. But the tendency of airline stocks is it's pretty slow. Let's try to look at the numbers on SEB. So PE ratio very low, 3. Right? So again, this was what I was talking about a while ago. Even though the index or the local scenario might look bleak, or there may be bad news on the specific stock standpoint, we see cheap banks, we see this airline very cheap. Then if oil continues to go down, then there can be a possible major reversal on this. But then airline stocks being very slow, I suggest you could be more patient on this. So example, if it's 30, if you don't want to rush, you can probably wait for it to retest the 30 mark or even 29 plus. So it depends. But then if you want to do a test buy, that can also be a possibility. But then most of the behavior, I wouldn't rush too much on airline stocks. So since they move really slow, right? But at least we're seeing good signs here. So now you can wait for a retest of the breakout. So if it goes back below to 30, then 29.50, then hold from there, then that would be a good sign for a potential higher move later on. Okay, SGP, one of the most talked about stock in social media. So it's good that it's holding above 12, right? Okay, so by the way, we're monitoring the markets real time using Investatrade. So this is our trading platform in Investa in partnership with Investor Securities. So actually you can put your buy order here. So this is just a test account, right? So you can easily buy and you can allocate based on your cash. So there are a lot of features here. Then we're looking to add more features in the Investatrade platform to make it the most powerful and easy to use investing and trading platform here in the Philippines. So that SGP, it's good that it's holding 12, but this red candle is kind of weird. So now let's see if it can hold 1180 to 1150. So this range around here. And at the same time, this is where the moving averages are, the price structure. So if it's really strong, the dips should be short-lived. So if there's dips at 1150 or 1180, there must be strong buyers there, and we need to see strong recovery from there, then get back to 12 plus in order for it to trend higher. Okay, so next, SEC 37.90. So we discussed this in the last video. The market is prioritizing stocks with high dividends, low valuations or good valuations. So it's potentially gonna give 17 or 16% in dividends. So SEC, I haven't checked out the coal charts yet, but just looking at this chart, we see a break above that long-term resistance. That's a 2-year, 3-year resistance. So now, next level to look at in SEC would be, this is a gap. This is a gap here. Okay, so there's a gap between 40 to 39. Okay, so this is going to be the next major resistance in this window here. So 39 to 40. So we're now at 37.90. If we reach 39 and 40, that may be a strong barrier, strong resistance. Okay, APX, so another gold play. It's trying to take its high here. It's following gold's movement, and with the attention that Felix has been gaining, then APX is going to be spotted by traders as well. There's another gold miner that's more cheap. So now, if this is really strong, it must hold 420 on the support side, and then needs to break above 450 to 460, and then from there, if gold makes a new high, then it's gonna probably trend to 480 to 5 and then onwards. So if you want to see how gold looks like, go to Investagrams. Then we can see here that despite selling days, it's still hovering at the high. So basically, this kind of structure, consolidation at the high, is telling us that, hey, whatever the sellers are doing, they're weak. So buyers are dominating this kind of structure for me. Wait, sorry, I'm gonna reset the chart. So the buyers are dominating this kind of structure. So it's just a matter of time, I think, before it makes a more significant high, probably 3,000. Then onward. Let's see. So on the support side, this 2850 to 28 level must hold. Okay. So to summarize the top 10 stocks here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, so 10 stocks. So there's more leaders in here in our page here. You can check it out if you're a Prime user. So I'm gonna tackle them next time. But here, to summarize the top 10, so there's interest in gold miners. Then Plus, it's still there, but then it's really extended. Hopefully we get a dip. Then JGS being really oversold and moving along with URC. But then the interesting theme that we see here is the cheap banks, PNB, CBC, East West. Then SEB seeing a potential turnaround with sell down in oil. Then probably there's an increase in tourism, but then mainly this is going to be driven by oil. SEC being a strong dividend play, APX, gold play, and LTG is another. Oh, sorry, I missed LTG, the last stock. LTG is another high dividend play. Same style with SEC. I think this is giving out 10% or 9 to 11% dividends. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. So it's already above the resistance here. So next point, if we're at 1170, if it takes 12, then the next point would be 1250 to 13. So this would be the more significant resistance for LTG. Okay, and this is also the mother company of PNB, right? So just so you know, so if PNB continues to wake up and makes a very strong trend, then LTG may also get attention from that. All right, so that's our video for today. Good luck to all of you traders. So if you want to check out the market, if you want to have a solid trading platform, just check out InvestaTrade. Then for charting, we got Investagrams here. Market analytics that I'm using is in our Prime tools. So alright, see you again in the next video.